Somewhere in Northern Europe, a 5-star spa and hotel caters to anyone who can afford it, but things are amiss, especially as the mold sets in. Corpses begin appearing around the facility and no one acknowledges them. And that's just the beginning. Soon the black substance spreads and starts transforming the staff and clients into Eldritch-style abominations. Still, no one bats an eye. This is a world-class spa after all, and business must continue as usual. If you're a fan of David Lynch, Junji Ito, or Spirited Away, Spa is a must-read. This is an absolute nightmare sealed within the pages of a graphic novel. This is Spa. Hello friends, this is Grief speaking, and today we're going to be looking at Spa by Swedish author Erik Svetofts. I stumbled upon this comic by accident and honestly fell in love with it. If you like Beautiful Darkness, which I covered previously, you'll find some similarities in the horror here. And much like Beautiful Darkness, there's not a straightforward narrative. You're essentially watching as a cosmic horror overtakes a spa hotel. But under the surface and in the background, there is a lot to dissect, which makes this one perfect for theories as to what's really going on. I'm going to walk you through what happens from start to finish and wrap up with popular interpretations of Spa as well as my own wacky theory, so stay tuned for that. You guys should go subscribe to my second channel, Grief Speaks, for more casual and behind the scenes videos. I recently uploaded a tour of the Grief backdrop as well as my second mask, which never saw the light of day. I'll put a link in the description, but we have a lot to get to, so without further ado, this is Spa by Erik Svetofts explained. Spa starts off vague, surreal, and unsettling, and it keeps this tone for the rest of the comic. We see a man with slicked back hair in a bathrobe. He's on his knees in the dirt. He's got an off-putting smile and just calmly sits there as 3 cartoon-like characters close in on him with deadly weapons, seemingly beating him to death. Around them is a strange black sludge that seems to be growing around the bleak city buildings nearby. In one of the buildings, a woman looks down through an apartment window. Her husband then asks her if they live here, and she responds, "I guess so." They detect a foul odor and look in the bathroom to see 2 corpses rotting, one in the tub and one face down in the toilet. And shortly after this, they find a body in the kitchen and another in the hall. The couple shows no emotion or surprise at the dead people, and the man suggests they go on a relaxing weekend, maybe unwind a little and think about something else for a few days. Since there's been a weird atmosphere here lately, maybe it'll be better when they get back. As they discuss this on the couch, we can see opposite them in an armchair is another corpse rotting away. The art style is beyond creepy, not just on the corpses, but the bland faces of the living, and get used to it because many of the people in this comic have basically the same face. What's creepier than the situation itself is the complete lack of reaction from the couple, as if seeing dead bodies in your apartment is nothing but a minor annoyance. Not only that, but they don't even seem sure that they live here. This is a running theme in this comic that adds a really unsettling dreamlike quality. The next section seems straight out of a Wes Anderson film, with several spa employees talking directly to the camera, or in this case, the reader. We learn that this is an award-winning facility that takes a holistic view, providing space for relaxation and human interaction. There's something for everyone, so open your mind, gain fresh insight and energy. We see a montage of people enjoying the benefits of the spa, and then the spa director saying he looks forward to your visit, followed by a pretty freaky couple sharing some champagne. Their smiles are just not right. Next, we follow a new employee on his first day on the job. His supervisor walks him through his duties, which entails keeping fresh towels stocked throughout the facility and discarding the used ones. His supervisor then mentions that today is inspection day. This is actually an important detail. Elsewhere in the shower, some cleaners discover a strange black gunk and have a hard time removing it. Assuming it's some kind of moisture damage, they decide to call in some technicians. As the new guy delivers some towels, we can see the liquid covering the ceiling, some of which drips onto his shoulder. In the hotel cafeteria, the couple from the beginning are enjoying their stay. They discuss how great of an idea this was. However, they spot something weird across the cafeteria. At one of the tables sits another corpse, its skin shriveled and rotted. It's a disturbing sight, and like usual, everyone completely ignores it. At the same time, a business is having a conference here and is treating its employees to the spa for the weekend. One of the employees says he's going to check out early as he has some important business to attend to. Just a side note, since there are no names in this comic and there are a lot of characters, it can get confusing, so I'm going to call this character Blonde Guy so you know who I'm talking about. As he leaves the cafeteria, a strange looking guy locks eyes with him and calls him a loser. Elsewhere, we see the spa director sitting cross-legged, wearing a Speedo and smoking in his office. Soon, his personal assistant comes in to inform him that they have a VIP guest and that he should welcome them personally. As the assistant leaves, her inner monologue informs us that she has feelings for the director and wonders if he feels the same. As she walks down the hall, she finds some of the black sludge on the walls and floor. She sees a cleaner nearby and scolds her for the mess. Two gentlemen enter the front doors of the spa. One is wearing a police uniform. They say they're here for the inspection, and while the receptionist informs the director, the cop has a hard candy from a bowl on the counter. He clearly enjoys it and then proceeds to dump the entire bowl into his jacket, which made me laugh. The receptionist then hands them a briefcase that seems full of money and they leave. Next, the VIP customer enters, a tan man with exquisite taste. We see a little montage of the rest of the spa, including a pretty big image of the lounge. I can't help but scan the page, looking for anything strange or sinister in the background, but other than some creepy looking individuals, it seems normal. The VIP gets situated in a robe and has a martini, while the director's assistant inspects the employees to make sure everything is in order for their special guest. She sees the new guy has a spot on his shirt from the sludge and gives him a dirty look after cleaning it off. The director then comes into the lounge to greet the VIP. He gives him the whole spiel about how great the facilities are and has someone escort the man to his room. Shortly after, the assistant whispers in the director's ear and points at the new guy. Next, we see a lonely looking man sitting in his room when a woman escorts him to his scheduled massage. He enters the room and sees the massage therapist, who is pretty weird looking. He's shirtless with black tights and long spiny fingers. Kind of looks like a Smiling Friends character or something. He has the man lay down and talks about how important it is to stretch first and limbers up in a series of weird poses before beginning the massage. It's uncomfortable to watch as his long deformed fingers press into the man's back. He then applies a face mask, and one thing I like about this comic is that on paper, there's nothing weird about this scenario, but it's just slightly off in a couple of different ways, which really puts a chill down your spine. The man thanks him, and the massage therapist seems happy with himself for a job well done. However, he looks at himself in the mirror and the smile fades. After giving a few more massages, he sees some of his coworkers chatting and asks them if they want to do something after work, but they blow him off. It's kind of sad, actually. Somewhere else in the facility, the blonde guy from the company retreat is lost and wandering through the spa. Strangely, he can't find another person, and many of the large rooms are empty. The water here is pretty dark as well. Finally, he stumbles upon an employee and asks for directions. She points him to hopefully the right place, and he continues on his search. This employee was actually taking a lunch order to the VIP suite, and she enters to find him wearing a face mask and doing some exercises. I can't help but think of the opening scene of American Psycho and Patrick Bateman's morning routine. He takes one look at the meal that she brought and calls it inadequate, saying everything he consumes must be first class, and he sends it back. The woman brings it to the kitchen and dumps it into the garbage, telling the chef to get his shit together. The chef watches her trash the meal he worked so hard on and begins to shed a tear. Now that's just funny. There's a quick panel of the spa stairwell, which has a black fungus growing on it. Then we get back to the new guy who's been called into the director's office. The director says he's gotten some complaints about cleanliness and goes on a bit of a tangent. It quickly shifts from chastising the new guy over the dirty shirt to talking about what makes a good leader. The director clearly likes to toot his own horn. He then proceeds to tell a story of how he became director, which we see in a detailed flashback. He's a little boy playing on the beach when suddenly a bird is shot out of the sky, its body falling in a gory mess. We see the culprits, and it seems to be the cartoon-faced thugs from the opening. They hold up the bloody bird and smile as its entrails fall onto their faces. Okay. The kid pays no mind and keeps building his sandcastle while his father, a disheveled drunk, rambles about how he made his first million. He gets up to show his son some sandcastle tips, but trips and falls, destroying it. Soon, someone calls for the father to return to the spa for a board meeting. On the drive back, he says he's tired of being director and decides to hand the position over to his son. The boy says that he'll do his best, and we see his face shift into the adult version, bringing us back to the present. Apparently, that was the last time he ever spoke to his father. He segues poorly into talking about how the lesson is that employees should always wear clean uniforms. He then tells the new guy that his coworkers are waiting for him back in the conference room for a team building exercise. When the new guy arrives, he finds a chair sitting in the center of the room and several employees standing around it ominously. He sits in the chair and the director's assistant places a pig nose on him. She then tells the others to start the exercise and continue for 30 minutes. They'll lean over him making pig noises and oinking. Jesus, talk about a humiliation ritual. We see some more images of the various spa rooms as the black mold continues to spread and the employees are none the wiser. In one instance, a hotel guest spots an unusual looking person being escorted down a hall. They follow out of curiosity, and when they get a better look, the person's face seems to be missing and their skin has a strange texture. It's a spooky sight, and this is not the last time we'll see this faceless entity. We see the director pacing around, trying to remember what he was supposed to be doing when he gets distracted by a painting of a ski slope. He looks at it and sees a little cartoon character appear on top. They ski down the slope and meet with two friends at the bottom. It's a cute little scenario, but you might notice that these three characters resemble the thugs that beat the man to death at the beginning and shot the bird on the beach. Weird. His imagination is interrupted by his assistant, who informs him they have a small bookkeeping problem. She takes him to the spa safe where all the cash has been rotted by the black mold. All of the company's money is destroyed. The director says it's a shame, but he's an expert problem solver and can figure it out. The assistant asks what they're going to do about the inspection fees, but the director again says he'll take care of it. We check back in with the couple from the opening who comment about the unusual nature of one of the spa's areas. The water is black and there's strange, hellish plant life growing up everywhere. One of the staff members points them to a mineral bath nearby. While the ceiling above is covered in the substance, the bath itself seems fairly unaffected. So the couple relax in the water. This is the good life. Soon they both look over, however, and find the rotted corpse of yet another guest at the end of the bath. It's a ghastly image, and even creepier, the dead woman's hand slowly raises up and points at them. The couple just pauses for a second and then says, maybe we should have a sauna instead. Okay, well, maybe these weird human husks aren't exactly dead. I really don't know, but that's the first time we've seen one move. It then cuts to the couple in the sauna with no emotion like usual, although they're sitting next to yet another body. This one's face is torn off and neatly sitting on a towel nearby. My God. The man asks, have we done something wrong? And his wife replies, maybe we have. Okay, so they seem to have some acknowledgement of what's happening, but it's really hard to tell if they're seeing what we're seeing. In the break room, the massage therapist looks a little sad as he listens to the other staff members talking about how much fun they had on a night out. Soon, the new guy walks in, still wearing the pig snout. A couple of his coworkers apologize for being so hard on him, but that's just how things work around here. They smile at him, and in the hallway behind, he can see a person with a bizarre pig head peeking out. It's holding a coffee mug much like him. It's hard to tell if this is an actual entity he's seeing or just a reflection of how he feels wearing the snout. In this comic, it's probably both. The substance continues to spread across the facility, and in the showers, a cleaner tries to get things spotless when she's approached by the technicians. They are interesting to say the least. They're identical twins and have straight up cartoon faces, though these are notably different than the three cartoon figures that the director has seen. They get to work right away, pulling off a wall panel to reveal an elaborate set of pipes. They pull out a schematic and it's crazy complicated, might as well be for alien technology. The technicians go through their tools and it straight up turns into a Three Stooges style comedy act where one of them accidentally bashes their own head with a mallet, followed by the other doing the same thing. It's almost a nice break from the pure dread that is this comic, but these handymen are so damn creepy, so you can never really let your guard down. Well, next they use the mallet to straight up smash the pipes open for some reason, and the black gunk comes spraying out. They continue trying to fix the problem, but the results are disastrous. Eventually, they are waist deep in the floor with pipes broken and strewn about the room. Next, we see a guest coming out of a bath that is drenched in the black stuff. As she exits, it's clear that she's formed strange boils on her forearm. Elsewhere, the blonde guy is still lost and wandering around, now regretting leaving his colleagues. He happens upon his boss and asks if he's seen the others, but the man just smiles at him and then straight up walks through a wall. What the hell? The blonde guy says, that was weird. He didn't even say hi. He's usually so talkative. Right, that's the weird part. He continues walking when someone approaches him from behind. And who is it but him? or at least someone who looks exactly like him. The only difference being that the doppelganger's eyes are a little googly. He just looks pissed off and punches his clone in the stomach before walking away. What the fuck is going on here? We check in with the other company employees and see the weird looking guy who keeps calling everyone losers. He can't find his buddies and tracks them down to a mysterious room. And a massive gangly fingered arm reaches out, grabbing the guy by the head and pulling him inside, crushing his face in the process. Like usual, the others just smile like nothing happened. Then we see some more images of the spa as the substance spreads, only this time things are more overtly messed up. In one image we see some creepy guests staring at us, and in the background a skeleton lays on the floor. The next panel is the most frightening abomination yet. The torso of a guest has transformed into something straight out of Resident Evil. Between its protruding ribs we can see dozens of faces gnashing their teeth. All this atop unusually long legs covered in boils. In the next image, a guest has turned into a long slug-like creature, though we can't see their face. Things have definitely taken a hard turn. We then see the new guy sitting alone in his room with the pig snout still on his face. His walls are covered in the black mold. He suddenly begins hearing pig noises coming from behind his dresser. He slowly moves it and finds a hole in the wall. Inside is a disturbing sight. Real pigs screaming amongst the black liquid and strange fungus. The guy reaches in and rescues the pigs from the hole. He looks down and smiles at them. And what happens next is batshit crazy. We get a fairly normal shot of a hallway, and then suddenly dozens of deformed humanoid pig beings come flowing out covered in black filth. It's one of the most disturbing panels I've seen in recent memory, as more and more pour out in a grotesque circus of deformed anatomy. The new guy is in the middle, riding on top of one of the biggest pigs. There is a lot to look at in this image alone. Some of the pigs look like cartoon characters, while others are disturbingly realistic. And there's a lot of weird shit going on, like this woman with a pig head who has pigs as breasts. I mean, what the hell am I reading? We then get another glimpse of a random spa room. The guests casually stare in the corner where a giant floating head comes out of the ground. We then see three guys sitting in a sauna. One of them says, "You know, I've been thinking." It zooms out to show the three guys again, only the room is covered in black filth and one of them has boils all over him. He pauses and says, "Nothing specific." It zooms out again and things have progressed severely. The man with boils' face is gone and the room is completely full of fungus. Soon the strange material bursts out of the guy's head and closes in on the other two, who just sit calmly. The man says that he can get a little anxious sometimes, and the other man asks, anxious about what? They just stare at the pure body horror in front of them, and the man responds, "Nah, it's nothing, never mind." I mean, talk about denial. It's actually kind of comical, the lack of concern here. Next, we see the VIP guest laying on the floor with a hatchet in his back. It seems the chef didn't like the remarks he made about his cooking and in a rage killed the man. He sits on the floor by the tanned corpse in a panicked sweat for a moment before hatching a plan. He's already got darker skin, so he dyes his hair blonde and shaves his mustache in order to assume the VIP's identity. He actually already has basically the same face shape as the VIP guest. There's a running theme in this comic with alter egos and misplaced identity, but we'll talk about that later. The chef then wraps up the corpse along with his chef uniform and throws it into a large body of water. It's unclear exactly where this is, so it could be somewhere outside or in one of the pools. Just after he disposes of the body, the director spots the chef and believes that it is the VIP guest. He apologizes for the food not being up to snuff. The chef says it was only a misunderstanding and that the food was excellent. He then rushes off, saying he needs to check out immediately. The director looks over and sees a trail of black sludge leading down a hallway. He turns the corner to find that it is eerily dark and a figure stands in the hall. The director starts yelling at the mystery person about making such a mess. Then they turn their head and we see that it's the man in the pig snout. His eyes are now black and he just gives a menacing stare. Well, the director isn't fazed and continues to berate him when suddenly the room is filled with the humanoid pigs in all their body horror glory. They begin to surround the director in a haunting display of unsettling insanity. The director stays calm and looks a little puzzled by the whole ordeal. The man in the pig snout says nothing and just continues past the director with his army of pigs. The director just sits on one of the lounge chairs as the room around him fills with filth and fungus. He feels like the only one around here who truly cares about good service and quality. He looks over at a painting on the wall of a tree and has yet another daydream. The three cartoon characters wander through the woods picking berries when they're approached by a bear. Instead of attacking them, it eats some of their berries and befriends them. He's snapped out of this by the two property inspectors inspectors from earlier. They complain that the latest payment was less than usual. The director tries to explain that there was a small financial mishap, but the police officer picks up a vase and smashes it on the ground, while the other man says when payments are late, there are consequences. The officer then picks the director up and straight up yeets him into the wall. The way this is illustrated just looks really funny. It made me laugh out loud the first time I saw it. The man says they'd appreciate it if they get all the money next time. The director lay with blood running from his nose. His assistant runs to help him and once again contemplates telling him how she feels. But he rushes off and runs into the two technicians, telling them to get back to work. There's another montage of the various spa areas. In one, a guest pours some champagne while their head has completely transformed into a demonic pig. In another, an old man rests in a hot tub with his eyes closed while three amorphous entities move in on him, their heads elongated and bodies decayed. One image shows some guests enjoying a soak in a pool while a massive entity sits next to them. Its body is bloated and head stretched out. Then, in one of the strangest and in some ways funniest images in this book, we see a corpse laying on the ground with its face torn off, the black liquid pouring onto the floor. Okay, that's actually really dark. That's not the funny part. There's a small skull-like head poking out of the guy's butt for some reason. It's another moment that was so bizarre I couldn't help but laugh. We see the chef packing up and getting ready to leave the spa when he opens his room door to find the VIP guest alive and wearing the chef's outfit. He's also wet and holding the cleaver. I guess he somehow survived. It cuts to another random spa image. This one may be my favorite. A bunch of swimmers are lounging by the side of the pool and staring above it where a giant disembodied head floats screaming. I love the contrast here. It looks really cool. The blonde guy is still lost in the spa and now he has some boils growing on his face. He sees what looks like the couple from the opening, only their faces are messed up. Their eyes are missing and their mouths are all dried out. They get closer and their faces are actually fine. It must have just been the lighting. He asks them what time it is and they say they have no idea and walk away. The blonde guy yells after them, telling them they don't have to act so stuck up. He says he should probably get some ointment for his rash. Then he encounters the doppelganger again, only this time it's him as an old man with a beard. He just ignores it and starts to walk away when he is suddenly shot by a harpoon which pierces him through the side. I can't say I expected that. A woman comes up holding a harpoon gun and just says, "Oh, sorry, I thought you were someone else," and then walks away as if it was a minor incident. The guy just says, "No worries, accidents happen," and says he'll be fine, it's nothing serious. Meanwhile, the harpoon is sticking out of his back and his robe is soaked in blood. It then cuts to a guest walking through the halls when suddenly the weird guy who calls everyone a loser appears. The long hand is still grasping his throat, and now he's holding two people of his own by the neck. They reach for the man and we get a cool wide shot of basically an infinite line of people choking each other. It's visually a really cool idea. Reminds me of something you'd see in Junji Ito. We see the couple laying in bed while a ghastly face floats in the blackness outside their window. They look at each other and start kissing while an even more disturbing entity walks by. The couple then start having sex under the covers, a pretty awkward exchange considering freaky ass entities keep looking in through the window. In a truly bizarre sequence, the couple is replaced by distorted monstrosities continuing the act, and the real couple standing naked is now watching them through the window. Then they suddenly have their robes back on and are standing by the bed, and the two human husks lay there motionless. It then shifts back to the couple laying in the bed and two ghoulish monsters embracing each other on the other side of the window. Soon the faceless figure from earlier approaches them and we see them snatched out of the room through the window. Are you confused? I sure as hell am. We get another few images of the spa. In one, a girl stands calmly staring at the reader, and behind her is a massive human head filling up the hallway. In another, the two technicians simply shrug at us with the showers completely destroyed behind them. There's also a strange page featuring the director staring into one of the pools at a version of himself swimming in the black water. Next, the assistant seems to be wrapping up another team building exercise. This time, an employee stands in a corner wearing a dunce cap. Not clear what just went down, but I'm sure it was unpleasant and cruel. The assistant spots the director and tells him there's been some major issues, that the staff lacks discipline and several guests have asked for their money back. Funny enough, she doesn't mention the cosmic horror abominations that have taken over the place. He says that he just needs a moment in his office, and as they speak, they see a trail of black liquid and several of the pig creatures roaming the halls, the substance spewing from their snouts. We jump ahead to the director in his office, and the pig creatures are running rampant inside, although he doesn't react. Then his father father from the flashback shows up. He tells his son that he regrets handing over the spa, and that certain situations require a real leader. He grabs the director's badge off of his shirt and puts it on himself. He says he's about to have a board meeting addressing all the issues going on and tells the son to pack his things up. While they speak, the office is being destroyed by the creatures. The father heads down the hallway and is confronted by the property inspectors, who start beating him up immediately. They tell him that they need to get the inspection fees. It's becoming clear that these guys are not inspectors but mobsters of some sort. The new director then pulls out a small horn and blows it. Elsewhere, there are several employees playing cards in a basement room, including everyone's favorite weirdo massage therapist. In the corner of the room sits a person in military garb and a beret. They almost look like a dog person or something. When they hear the sound of the horn, they stand up and grab 2 briefcases before leaving the room. He finds the director and the thugs and hands them the briefcases, which I guess hold his own personal money. The men then thank him for the understanding, and the director gets up and rushes towards his board meeting. One of the mobsters asks the dog person if they've worked here long, and after a moment of hesitation, they just say, "I'm not sure." The mobster doesn't even question it and just says, "Oh, that's just the way it is sometimes." It's yet another weird example of someone not quite understanding where they are or what exactly is happening. Checking back in with the blonde guy, he finally collapses on the ground, saying he just needs to rest for a while, as the harpoon still sticks out of his side. As he lay down to die, the 3 cartoon characters find him. They pull the harpoon out and then use magic to turn it into a flower. They hand him the flower and send him on his way. I mean, what the fuck? He keeps walking until finally, after all this time, he finds his room. When he enters, however, the room is black, and sitting inside is the man with the pig snout. After realizing the pig man looks sad, the blonde guy hands him his flower and he begins to shed some tears. As he cries, his deformed pig minions surround him, crying as well. Meanwhile, the new director makes it to his meeting and finishes his presentation. He asks if any of the board members have questions, but as we get a look at them, it's revealed that they are all corpses. Out of one of the body's eye sockets crawls a huge centipede. It looks up at the director and they stare at each other for a moment. Then we see that the centipede has a human-like skull for a head. In fact, it looks just like the creature that was sticking out of that guy's butt earlier. I also think it looks like a weird inverted version of the hungry caterpillar, but that might just be me. It grins at the director with soulless eyes and then suddenly jumps through his head, which explodes out the back along with his brains. That was a crazy turn, I have to say. Back at the basement card game, everyone realizes they don't know what game they're playing, but they're having a good time anyway, especially the massage guy, who's happy to finally be having some social contact with his coworkers. Then the new guy walks into the room. He's taken off the snout and his eyes are back to normal. He just says nothing and sits down, grabbing some cards. We check back in with the director, or rather the director's son, and he's daydreaming again about the cartoon characters. This time they're playing a game of mini golf and enjoying some ice cream. He's snapped out of the fantasy by the voice of his father calling to him from the dark hallway. Out of the pitch black, we can see his face, and it looks kinda corpse-like. He says the board decided it's best if his son continues as CEO. The son is thankful, but questions whether he even wants to come back. Maybe it's time to try something else. His father says he and the board have full faith in him. They have new capital, new investors, and business will continue as usual. At this point, we can see the father's full body and his skin is shriveled like many of the dead folks we've seen. Close up in one of his eye sockets is the centipede creature. He pokes his head out and introduces himself as the new chairman of the board, and that it's going to be great working with the director. Speaking of which, he places the director's badge back on him. He then tells him good luck and kisses him on the cheek. The director's eyes then turn white and he falls to the ground. We then see a flash of terrifying images of filth and body horror, with several abominations addressing the director. This continues on with even more frightening images and more creatures calling to him. In one image, we can see the director's eyes burning out of his head. Finally, his assistant finds him on the ground and asks if he's okay. When we fully come back to reality, the assistant is holding him in her arms, but his eyes are pure black and his skin looks burnt. Suddenly, the 3 cartoon characters show up in bathrobes and take the director's body. They whisper something in the assistant's ear, though we don't know what they say, and leave. This comic is beyond bizarre. Somewhere else in the spa, we see the woman with the harpoon has finally nailed her real target, a bizarre sea creature with 3 human heads. It's riddled with harpoons and several guests stand around it. Some of them seem to be mourning. The blonde man, clutching his wounded opposite side finds the exit to the spa. However, in order to reach it, he must enter a pool of water. He walks into it and finds a set of stairs going to the bottom. He walks down the steps under the black water, and along with him walk several other people who have transformed into corpses and creatures. And on a closer look, they all seem to resemble the blonde man in some aspect. They walk by a giant disturbing mermaid, and finally the man emerges alone on the other side and exits the spa. Next, in a very strange sequence, not that this whole comic isn't strange, we see an extravagant mansion and a maid with a tray of tea. The weird thing is, the maid looks off, almost like she's a corpse. She delivers the tea to none other than the couple from the beginning of the comic. Only here, they're super rich. They question how expensive this place is and how they're able to afford it. They finally conclude that they must be rich and famous, as if they aren't sure. The butler, who's a deformed creature as well, says that they have a guest, and the guest is actually familiar. It's the faceless person with the weird skin we saw way back near the beginning. He undoes his robe to reveal there's a strange face on his belly. The face then crawls out of his skin and forms its own body of a woman. The couple then asks if they've done something wrong. You may remember this is exactly what they asked while in the sauna upon seeing the corpse. Shockingly, the butler and maid both pull out handguns and shoot the couple in the head. Then the faceless man starts playing piano while the maid and butler dance. In the background, we can see the stomach woman grabbing the couple's feet and dragging them away. I should point out that the woman who crawled out of the stomach's face looks a lot like the centipede. Back at the spa, everything is being put back in order and their rooms are being cleaned. The director's assistant starts her day and grabs a handbell. She enters the reception area and finds the two technicians who say they've fixed it. One of them eats a banana and they start to walk away, but then slip on the banana peel, yet another classic slapstick gag. The assistant then walks down into the employees only area, and hidden in the walls are several hideous creatures tucked away, which she pays no mind to. She then encounters a deep well in the ground and rings the bell. On the beach, the director is laying in the sand. He looks over and sees the well, which extends up to a massive structure. He then looks back toward the beach where he finds the stomach woman who tells him to hurry up, a new workday is beginning, and the guests are waiting. Soon the director comes crawling out of the well, and the assistant gives him his schedule as he heads to his office. She once again wonders if she'll ever find the right moment to tell him how she feels, and he sits down in his office, which is now completely back in order. We finally get a full shot of the massive facility from the outside, and it's huge, almost endless. In the woodlands nearby, the blonde man walks away, pausing briefly to look back. As he travels, he encounters the two mobsters who are literally burning the money they got. Then he sees a limo roll up on the nearby road where a man gets out. It's the VIP guest, only this time it's clear that it's the chef with his dark hair and mustache. The man continues walking until he eventually encounters three thugs with cartoon faces, and they surround him with deadly weapons. It then cuts to the couple entering an eroded apartment building. They take the stairs up and see a smiling man with slick backed hair and a bathrobe heading outside. You may recognize him as the very first person we saw in this comic who was attacked by the thugs. The couple acts as if they are interested in renting an apartment here. It's pretty run down, but they decide to head into an apartment and check it out. They face through the door, and outside the smiling man kneels down in the dirt, and that is Spa, ending just as it began. This may be the most surreal comic I've ever covered, including Beautiful Darkness, which was pretty vague in meaning as well. While Spa is a pretty obscure comic, there are still several theories floating around as to what it means. The most common interpretation is that Spa is a satire on the wellness industry. The spa becomes an allegory for how modern society pays for relaxation and self-care while ignoring deeper problems like corruption, alienation, decay, and existential dread that lay beneath the superficial treatments. This is the main takeaway I've seen in many of the reviews for Spa, but I want to give a bigger breakdown of all the major themes as well as my own possible interpretations. The biggest reoccurring theme, and in my opinion the most disturbing aspect of Spa, is the normalization of death and tragedy. Characters see rotting bodies, grotesque transformations, and violence, yet no one bats an eye, and they only act as if this is some minor inconvenience. As I mentioned, it really does remind me of what I found so creepy in Beautiful Darkness. everyone going about their day to day as if nothing is wrong while major disturbing events happen. I think this kind of normalization of the absurd is terrifying, but kind of rare in media. Another theme is around identity. Characters seem to have no idea where they are or how long they've been there, and the main couple is a prime example. When they're in the shitty apartment, they wonder if they live there, and when they're in a mansion, they do the same, as well as taking a guess that they must be rich and famous. Not to mention the amount of bizarre doppelgangers seen throughout. Another big theme revolves around corporate rituals and power structures. The director's humiliation rituals, like the pig snout and dunce cap, his succession story, and his father's eventual reappearance all parody workplace hierarchies. Even the inspection fees seem to be mob-like extortion disguised as corporate overhead. Also, the fact that the rules and status quo are more important to the business than addressing the madness that exceeds those boundaries. Then you have the fact that the story seems to loop, showcasing cycles of violence and surreal recurrence. The story begins with the 3 cartoon thugs attacking a man and ends with this exact scenario playing out again. The couple drifts from spa to mansion to the apartments on repeat, and the story loops back to its own beginning, suggesting an eternal cycle where horror endlessly plays out. Now, while these sophisticated sounding allegorical interpretations are interesting, I think it's a lot more fun to take a stab at this from a literal perspective. What if the spa is hell? Okay, now stay with me here, this is just for fun, but the endless spa could function as a sort of liminal zone, like the bathhouse in Spirited Away. People arrive without remembering who they are, whether they belong there, or even if they're alive. For example, this is why the couple can't decide if they live here and why guests don't know how long they've been employed. This uncertainty of identity feels like the fog of death or limbo. The black mold could represent the rot of death itself, slowly eroding both flesh and memory, eventually twisting bodies into new fucked up forms. This explains all the bizarre transformations. They're not random mutations, but stages of decay in hell. The cartoon thugs who appear at the beginning could represent demonic figures who oversee the cycle. They kill, escort, and reappear in the director's daydreams as if to remind him that this place is a machine of death. The director, in his obsession with clean uniforms and good service, is like a parody of divine judgment, where salvation isn't about morality, but about appearances. You could even take it further by looking at his father as an old god handing down eternal responsibility, the punishment being trapped forever in an endless, meaningless system. In this hell theory, the guest's indifference to corpses makes sense because they're already dead. The rotting husks are simply earlier versions of themselves, reminding them where they're headed. This is just how it works, and as the cycle repeats itself, it becomes routine. In this way, the spa is less a linear story and more of a circle of horrifying events where the dead enter, decay, and feed back into the cycle again and again. This is obviously more of a fun fan theory, but it does kind of work. Anyway, I want to know what you guys think of Spa. Is it a satire on the wellness industry? Could it be an interesting concept of hell or purgatory? Or is it just meaningless, a complete lack of narrative used as an excuse to showcase some cool horror art? Let me know in the comments below, and if you like this comic, be sure to pick up a copy at your local bookstore. Shout out to Kill Me Katie, as always, for the intro and outro music, which is likely playing right now. And if you want to see your art at the end of my videos, email me a submission to the address below with a name or social media handle. But I appreciate you guys watching at all. This is Grease speaking. Goodbye, friends.